Hello, and welcome back to the My Wool Mitten podcast. My name is Carrie, and I'm coming to you from the middle of the Mitten, Michigan's Lower Peninsula. This is for Alex from Late Night Knits. Our Lower Peninsula is shaped like a mitten, and I am right about here. And then we have an Upper Peninsula. So I just wanted to put that in there since Alex had showed us on the map where she was at in the UK. So anyway, I'm Carrie. I'm coming to you from the middle of the Mitten, from our small farm where I raise a tiny little flock of Corriedale sheep now, not nearly as many as we used to have. Today's episode was filmed over a bit of time, not much knitting. The only knitting I do want to tell you, I had put out on Instagram that I only finished one object in February, a pair of mittens. Well, I actually finished this sweater that I'm wearing too. You'll have seen it several times if you've watched me for any length of time. This is knit in Nutiden, and this is by Fabel Knitwear, a pattern called Ollivanders Turtleneck. I think I've got that right. And really all I had to do, I had been wearing it around without any sleeves, trying to decide what length of sleeves I wanted, and then I just did an I-cord bind off. So there, that's another finished object. I guess I'd been wearing it for so long that I didn't think about it being any different. So today there's going to be just a small bit of bucket talk down in the barn, just to say hello to the sheep. I know that you guys like to see them, a little bit with the chickens, because I think you guys like to see them too. And then back up here to the house to talk about buying a fleece from us, how we take care of our fleece, how we go about selling it. And then I'm going to, if you don't mind allowing me to ramble on about my start in sheep, how I feel about raising the sheep that I raise, and yeah, just a little bit of that kind of a thing. And then we'll finish up before it gets too awfully long. Thank you for being here today, if you're a returning viewer or if you are new. I guess I tend to assume we're just chatting and that you've been here before, but if you haven't, you can go back and watch some of our other videos. I can't find my words today, I'm sorry. And I am on Instagram as My Wool Mitten. I'm on Ravelry as My Wool Mitten. And yeah, that's where you can find me the most, as well as here, of course. So please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I love to have comments. I try to answer them all. And if I don't, maybe I've missed it and you just need to give me a shout again. So let's get going forward. Again, oh, the words just don't want to come. I'll shut up and we'll get on with the video. So talk to you soon, guys. Thanks for being here. You know, I'm trying to take video and I can't do that when somebody's trying to knock me over. What do you think, Ninja? You're not in focus either. There we go. There we go. Let's see if I can film her. She's not butting me. She's rubbing her head on me. And then sometimes she'll paw. See? What are you doing? Huh? Pretty girl. Pretty girl. Aren't you? Pretty Ninja. Had to put on the heavy Thinsulate gloves, it's so cold. Let's see, there is Weezer. You just bowl on top of everybody, don't you? This is Ninja's hot mess of a fleece. I want to talk to some of my Finn and Shetland breeder friends. Look at this. Excuse you. Not you, Ninja. She's so rude. She's so rude, isn't she? She's so rude. Yeah. Who we got here? Is this Marjorie, isn't it? Hi, Marjorie. Hi, honey. And there's a Ninja daughter and one of the Plymouth Blue Rocks. You're a hot mess. But you're such a love. Yes, Marjorie, you are too. Oh, excuse you. I didn't mean to make you sneeze. And there's Naomi. And River and Rain. And there's Penny. Such a beautiful Corriedale. You are too, aren't you, Marjorie? Yeah. Well, I'm probably making people seasick trying to take this video with some little sheep trying to push me over. Hi, little Rain. Well, now I turned the camera on and you're hiding your head. There you go. So I'm down in the barn for a few minutes. I've finished the chores and did a little bit of cleanup. I'm not going to stay down here very long. It's cold. But I thought for our introduction, maybe I'd get started. The sheep are eating. I will open this door here in just a little bit. But I left it closed so it didn't glare on us. So how's everyone doing? Let me swing. Maybe we can see the sheep a little better. There's a sheep butt. It looks like Marjorie. Another sheep butt over there. I don't know. Can you see? Nope, that's Francie. Oh, okay, so you can see right there what looks like a snowball. There. And that's actually, we went through and changed coats yesterday and checked fleeces. And sometimes the coat fits really well, except it might hang a little long over their hocks, their hind legs. And so when they get up and down, they'd get caught. So we found over the years it's real easy just to put kind of gather it up in the middle of the back just to raise the length a little bit so they don't get caught in it. And over there, I think you see some of the Plymouth Blue Rocks. And there you see one of the 3 sheep that I have with no coats. And we're going to talk about them. That one is one of the Finn and Border Leicester crosses. And one of the things I want to talk about today in this fleece conversation are those 2 crossbloods. So we're going to talk about that in a little while too. So, oh, the chicken just flew up right behind me. Who is it? Hi, girl. I don't know if I've mentioned to you about the barred rocks, that 3 barred rocks. Hi, sweetie. Where you going? Huh? And they're extremely tame. They were fair chickens. A young man had them for fair, and of course with COVID last year, we didn't end up having fair, and my stepdaughter, Patty, is a 4-H leader and a big supporter of 4-H, so she always purchases a project from the kids. Well, they didn't, I don't know if they did still projects. I'm not just quite sure how that went. But I was in need of chickens at the time, and she said, well, I'm going to support one of the kids with their chickens. And so I got 3 barred rocks that, of course, had been handled a lot because they were fair chickens. So they're very tame, aren't you? And can you see yourself on there? Do you see yourself? Aren't you a pretty chicken? Aren't you a pretty hen? Huh? I wonder if she'd peck me. And they lay nice brown eggs, and they're nice size. You're beautiful. So, anyway, let's close this down and go up to the barn, up to the house. What do you say, girl? Think that's a good idea? Oh, well, I've been all over the house trying to find a good place to record. It's a very bright, sunny day outside, the kind that you get in the late winter and early spring. And with this bank of windows that we have around the house, it is bright and sunny. The wind is blowing very hard. And so clouds come and go, the light comes and goes. And that makes it a little bit difficult. Maybe I have other settings on my camera, I don't know. But I finally settled on this place, and if it seems like I'm looking at you from under my glasses or over my glasses, it's because if I look up or straight out, you can see such a glare. So and I have a tendency to kind of sit that way anyway, and I'm looking down at my knitting too. So hopefully this works and the glare isn't too bad. I sat back down in this blue chair too because if you saw the last episode that I recorded, several people asked about the shawl that's on the back of the chair. And no, I did not knit that. It is knit, but I didn't knit it. It's one of the Orenburg lace shawls. My husband bought that for me many years ago. I wore it a lot. In fact, I've got a few snags in it that I need to fix. But it's so light, but very silky and soft and extremely, extremely warm. So that's the story about that, an Orenburg lace shawl. My chair's a little wobbly. You can see that our Zwartables Ireland calendar has changed over. We're now in March. It's March 1st today. And so that's where we are at with that. I'm just working on my sister-in-law's descent sweater because I'm at the round and round and round rows of stockinette stitch, so I don't have to pay that much attention to it. So how do you go about buying a raw fleece from us at Serenity Farms? A covered Corriedale fleece that we try to manage to keep as clean as possible. And when I say covered, I mean that they've worn a jacket type of a thing through the hay feeding months. We don't cover the sheep during the summer when they're on pasture. We don't feel that we need to, but when they come to the barn and start getting hay out of the feeder, then we do coat the fleeces. Now, I do that because that's what I like. Our fleeces are on the finer side, a lot of lanolin, and so that just helps keep the hay and the chaff and the vegetable matter out. I know there are some people that don't like to work with a fleece that's been coated. They don't feel it's natural or something, but if by chance I didn't sell that fleece and I was going to work with it myself, I would want it to be a coated fleece. So anyway, this is how we've always done it since we started selling fleeces and how we'll continue to do it. We don't have a website where I have a shopping cart. I don't have an Etsy shop where I list fleeces for sale. We typically sell out every year. We normally have a waiting list, and that's even in years when I've had as many as 30 sheep. And I've only got 11 sheep this year, and only 8 of those are Corriedale. Francie's fleece I don't sell, so that's only 7 Corriedale ewes with fleece available for sale. But this is how we do it. If you're interested in what you've seen, either on the podcast or on Instagram, or even back in the day when I had the blog, then you contact me and say, hey, I'm interested in a fleece from you when you shear. Give me an idea of what color you want, if you want white or if you want natural color. If you've seen a particular sheep on a podcast and you like the look of their personality and their fleece, you can request that sheep's fleece. And I put that fleece then on a reserve for you until shearing time comes. We don't take a deposit. I don't want to be responsible for holding your money. And we all know that things happen. Maybe by the time I get around to shearing, maybe you found another fleece and bought it. Maybe your circumstances have changed and you don't need a fleece. Maybe the fleece is bad. Maybe we have a crop failure and we don't have a good fleece, and so I can't offer it for sale. So it's just easier if we don't do the deposit route. I just put you on the reserve list. I contact you once the fleece is shorn, send you some pictures. I do a little quality control. I take a few ounces to the house. I wash it. I spin it. Make sure that that's a good fleece to offer for sale. In all these years, I've never had a fleece returned because it was a poor fleece. So that's what we do there. Now, it doesn't take long for that reservation list to fill up. As of today, March 1st, all of our fleeces have been reserved, and I don't have any available. Now, that's not to say that one won't become available. What we've always done in the past is if you're interested, please don't hesitate to still contact me, and I will put you on the waiting list, because oftentimes, or not oftentimes, but there's usually a few that come available that had been reserved. For one reason or another, the person couldn't take that fleece, and then we go to the next person on the list and contact you to see if you're interested in it then. So if you have been interested or you were wanting a fleece from us, don't shy away from asking me. just let me know, hey, I'd like to be on the waiting list, and I'll contact you if one becomes available. We sell the fleeces, they're priced by the pound. I used to sell individually, I'd sell by the pound. I don't do that anymore. The fleeces are on the smaller side because we have the smaller Corriedales. I skirt away the neck wool and anything that's not covered by the coat. So they're not huge fleeces, 5 pounds maybe on average, up to probably 8. And so we only sell them by the whole fleece. Unless, there's something that I've kept back, or maybe it's smaller or whatever, but by the whole fleece. And the price of the fleece does not include shipping. So when I contact you and you say you do for sure want that fleece, then we'll figure out the shipping and get that sent off to you. So I thought about not including this in the podcast because I don't have any available, but people have asked about it, and so I did want to put out there what our practice is for selling a raw fleece. Now, besides the Corriedales, I do have the 2 Finn Corriedale or Finn Border Leicester Cross U's. They're not coated. I haven't found a good way to coat them without their fleece felting. But they're long wool, that is easier to clean, that's true. But these girls are into everything, and they're very messy. Their fleece is very dirty. And so I'm not putting that out there as available. I have a couple people who are interested, but we're going to wait and see what that looks like once they're shorn. So that's what I wanted to say about the 2 of them. Ninja, their mother, who is full Finn, I don't sell her fleece. I keep it for myself if it's a good fleece, but she tends to have issues with her fleece, and it looks like she's going to have again this year. It looks like there's going to be a break in it, so I don't know what's going on with that, but so that's probably not going to be available. So did I answer all your questions about how you get a fleece from us? I don't normally, I'd rather that you not contact me now and say, I want a fleece for 2022. I won't remember. I won't keep it on the list. Who knows if I'll even have sheep then. So, but, just keep in touch with us or keep watching the podcast, and eventually maybe we can get you some fleece to try if you miss out on one this year. Oh, and then I should say too, the way to contact me, the best way to contact me about fleece is through Instagram, where I'm at My Wool Mitten. You can private message me there or direct message me there at My Wool Mitten, and that's how I send the down bar, how you contact me there. Or you can email me at serenityfarmswool, that's all one word, serenityfarmswool@yahoo.com, and I'll put that on the screen or down below as well. Don't message me on Ravelry about reserving a fleece. I'm not on Ravelry all the time, and unless you go into Ravelry, you don't get a notification that you've had a message. So Ravelry isn't a good place to contact me about reserving a fleece or purchasing a fleece. So all this came about because I showed the few pounds of fleece from my stash in the last episode, and I thank you all for your interest in it. It sold right away, and a lot of questions after that about purchasing one. So that made me think I need to get out there and let you know how to go about getting one. Well, from all the interest of that fleece, that's where I got the last of the reserves. I already had some reserved. Sorry, I hit the camera. That's where I already had some reserved, but that finished us off for the year. So I think I covered everything about that. If you have any questions about our fleece, then please just reach out to me, either in a question in the messages down below or on Instagram, or like I said, you can email me as well. And I thank you very much for your interest in our fleece. It really did my heart good to know that there was that much interest in it. I had kind of took last year off, and so you know how it is in these days, people move on to someplace else, and so I was just really thrilled to have some return customers and some new customers. I really, really appreciate it. I appreciate the interest in Corriedale, and I hope I can keep promoting that. If you haven't tried Corriedale, get in touch with me, and I may not have a whole fleece to sell you, but I can find some to send you to try. I really, really believe in Corriedale. I don't believe in them because I raise them. I raise them because I believe in them and the quality of their fleece and their fiber. So, and I could talk about that all day, but I'll stop now. And again, thank you for your interest, and thank you for commenting about the quality of our fleeces. I really like seeing it. Be sure and tag me on Instagram if you're working on one of our fleeces. That's at My Wool Mitten. So that's what I wanted to say about that. So let's talk a little bit about the Corriedale sheep that we raise. You know, I recently had a birthday, and thanks to everyone who sent such lovely messages and kind words, and I really enjoyed seeing that. And I'm not shy about saying I turned 62, and I'm not sure what I was doing then after that that made me realize that turning 62 means that I've had sheep in my life for 50 years now. 50 years. My first sheep, I was 12 years old, and my mom brought home a bottle lamb who was a Corriedale lamb. Corriedale was a fairly common breed when I was younger here in the state of Michigan. And so I don't know why my mom thought she wanted to raise a bottle lamb or that it would be good for us kids to be involved in raising a bottle lamb, but I'm ever so glad she did. Well, then, so she brought that lamb home, and my dad was not very happy, but in typical fashion for my mom and dad decided, well, if mom wanted to have sheep and if there was going to be a lamb, we were going to do it right and we were going to have a flock of sheep. So he went out and bought a flock of sheep. Now, those first sheep were a mixture. They were from kind of around the neighborhood. I don't remember if they came from one farm that was a group from area farms or if he went around and picked some up. But that first group were kind of a mixed breed, but they were Corriedale, Romney, and Southdown. And not the baby doll Southdown like what you see today. They were a little bit bigger than that, but still a small, stocky sheep with that kind of warm gray, tannish face. We had the Corriedales and the Romney had a little bit of color in them too, as Romney does sometimes. And the thing that I do remember about them is that they were all good mothers. They were all smaller sheep. In that group, the Corriedale was the biggest, but they were still a smaller sheep. Small, square-built sheep with a lot of fleece. And when I say small, I don't mean like Shetland size, but I do mean more lower to the ground, shorter legs, more compact. Not the tall sheep like we see today so much. And so now, being that young, I didn't know the difference, fine fleece, not fine fleece. I was just learning to knit at that time. But yeah, and I wish I could find more pictures of the flock then. But anyway, that's what we started with. And then as time went on, Mom and Dad got into not registered stock, but pure blood stock, the black face, more the meat breeds, Suffolk, and they had Hampshires for a little while, but didn't care for them quite so much. So mostly Suffolk. And then as more time passed, they brought in sometimes some Dorset. My brother had Tunis sheep for a while and really enjoyed them. And so I've had sheep in my life continuously for the last 50 years. Now, when I was first out on my own and then a single mom, and working and living on my own, of course, I didn't have sheep like in an apartment or in town. But Mom and Dad and my brothers still had the sheep. So if I was at the farm, I got to be around them and enjoy them. And then when Bill and I first got married, we didn't have sheep here at that time either. It was a few years before we got the first few sheep and then more and more. So I was lucky to have wonderful examples of shepherding and shepherdesses. My mom was a wonderful caregiver to the sheep. She very rarely lost a lamb. She was just so good at taking care of them. And they had a nice bunch of sheep. And then my brother had the red face, the Tunis, for a few years. That was kind of fun. And so that flock was dispersed. Then my mom passed first, and then when my dad passed away, um, then that flock was sold. So no sheep on the home farm anymore. But by then I had my flock. Now my husband came to it from a university standpoint. He went to school. Most of you know he was a veterinarian, and so that a lot of book learning and a lot of statistics and a lot of science. He worked in the barns, the sheep barns at university where he went, but he also grew up on a farm. He grew up on a dairy farm, but his grandpa had sheep. He was around sheep then as a boy and as a young man, and and so he really brought so much knowledge about sheep, not just learning but practical experience. And boy, there wasn't a thing he didn't know, I don't think. All that to say, you're still always learning. There's still always something to be learned. So that's the background that I bring to the sheep that I raise today. The influence that, even though my husband's no longer with us, the influence that he had on the flock and the hours that we spent talking about it, it's still evident. When I went out to buy sheep, I knew that I wanted to have Corriedale, but when I went looking for Corriedale, I didn't recognize the breed. You know, when we went looking for some breeding stock to have here on our farm, we found a tall sheep with a lot of leg, with a really clean face, long neck, long bodied, and not real desirable wool. And I thought, well, this isn't Corriedale, but you know, improvements happen. Improvements. Standards. The standards were pretty much the same, but the size was the biggest thing that had changed. The size and the fleece quality. So it was hard, but I was so lucky to find someone who was raising Corriedale, who had old stock, old bloodlines, who had 3 generations of sheep on her farm, so that I could look at grandmother, mother, daughter, and select from those sheep a starter flock for ourselves. I have one big regret, and that is when my mentor decided to sell their flock of registered Corriedales, that we didn't buy them. We were just doing a small fiber flock at the time, and Bill was still working horses, and there just wasn't room for a flock of sheep. But oh, how I wish that I had those sheep now. But anyway, that's a regret that we have. But when I went looking, I looked for that old style, that smaller, more compact, more square-built sheep with a lot of fine, dense fleece. The sheep that we did get had those traits. I didn't worry about having registered stock, because the registered sheep I could find weren't the type that I wanted. They weren't the type that I grew up with. And I did go for sheep that were on the finer side of the Corriedale spectrum. The staple length that the Corriedale breed standard recognizes, the blunt tips, the crimp, the length of the staple, but on the finer side, if I could find it. Now, we have a few in our flock that we call a more traditional crimp of Corriedale. It's got a little bit more of that accordion wave, but a lot of them have a little bit finer. Now, maybe I did a disservice by going for that finer fleece, but that's what I wanted, and it's what my customers seem to want. So that's what we've had and bred for over the years. Every few years, I've tried to go out and find a purebred ram to use on the ewes, if it didn't deviate too much from what we wanted. Now, we did do some line breeding, which means breeding closely related sheep, and so we haven't lost quality, but after a few years, you tend to lose size. So that's just a little bit of a broad discussion about the flock that we have and what we've raised over the years. More than once I've thought about just getting out of it, because I couldn't find any stock that wasn't already related to my own that I liked as well. We've selected over the years not just for the good fleece, for the good wool, but for good mothering, easy keeping, and so I've been kind of spoiled over the years. Oh, I should point out that the American Corriedale Association, the breed registry, only recognizes white Corriedale sheep. They don't recognize the colored sheep. So if you have a natural color Corriedale, it is not registered. It may even have been from registered stock, but the sheep itself would not be registered. So I just wanted to make that clear, that the breed association and registry only recognizes white sheep. And a Corriedale should have black points, black nose, black hooves, black around the eyes, not pink. So that's another thing to look out for. I just wanted to be sure and put that in case you want looking for natural colored Corriedales through the Corriedale Association.